Hello my wonderful friends and welcome back to a brand new video. You join me on what is an incredibly dark, grey, miserable day here in the UK. Some areas have had snow, but down here it's just really cold and rainy. It's so cold I've got my trusty Peter the heater right here in front of me to keep me toasty and warm. Let me know what it's like where you are today. Now in this video I wanted to talk about my disability ins and outs for 2025. If you missed it, then you can catch my disability ins and outs for 2024 here. And also, while I'm talking about it, make sure to drop your ins and outs down below. Before we get into it, let me introduce myself in case you're new. Hello, my name is Jem. This is my channel, Wheels No Heels. It's dedicated to my life with a disability. I do lots of videos on travel, news and reviews, so welcome. Make sure you subscribe and take a look around. We've got lots of exciting content this year, and in a few weeks' time, I'm going to be going skiing for the first time in about 30 years, so that's going to be really exciting. You don't want to miss it. Lots of travel content. It's going to be so exciting and I would love to have you on board. Now that's all done, let's get into this video. What is the first thing that I want to see left behind in 2025? And also a lot of you want to see left behind in 2025? It's unpredictable public travel for disabled people. Too many times we heard too many stories about people having their wheelchairs lost, damaged. We heard about people having to crawl to toilets on aircrafts. We also heard of people being left and forgotten about on trains and having to crawl off trains. I don't want to hear about another disabled person having to crawl to access basic rights that everybody else has in 2025. But you know what? I am actually feeling a little bit of a glimmer of hope this year. And hopefully we won't have to hear of these stories anymore. Because in an episode of Disability News, I broke the news that the UK have launched the Aviation Accessibility Task and Finish Group, who are dedicated to making air travel safe and dignified for disabled people. Not only that, the Department of Transport over in America have announced, now this is really wordy, so I think I'm going to read it. Final rule establishing accessibility standards for pedestrians' facilities in the public right-of-way. Have announced that there will be major changes in air travel, and I will be covering a lot of this on Disability News, so make sure you subscribe for that. But the next thing I want to see left behind in 2024 is when companies claim to be accessible, only when you turn up you find out that they are far from accessible. Accessible is so much more than just providing a ramp. We went out to the Pizza Express and I made sure on my booking that I said I needed wheelchair access. And the Pizza Express is a big pizza chain here in the UK and most of their restaurants are accessible. I didn't even think to check. We turned up to this Pizza Express in a very new, relatively new building, go in, and sit down at the table and see that there are some steps up to another level of the restaurant, just a few. And I just asked the waitress, I said, oh, where's your accessible toilet? And she says that up those stairs. No word of a lie. I was quite speechless, and she said, but don't worry, you can just go out round the side of the building through the back where the bins are into the back emergency exit and access the toilet that way. Great. Now, okay, yes, you kind of do have access to your toilet, but it was on a slight gradient up. Outside, I'm in the middle of eating my meal and I've got to go outside in the wind and the rain and the cold. Up a hill? I don't think it's particularly nice, I don't think it's particularly fair, and it's definitely not acceptable in 2025. I'm pretty sure, this not being a listed building, they could easily turn this into a ramp. Okay, the next one that we all want to see left behind is ableist assumptions. Just because our legs might not work and we use a wheelchair or mobility aids doesn't mean that the rest of us doesn't work either. I have often experienced people talking to Sean or the people that I'm with rather than talking to me. I don't know whether that's because they don't think that I can comprehend what they're saying, or maybe they're just uncomfortable with the whole disability thing. Now, I'm going to be completely honest with you. I have seen a change, and this hasn't happened for a long time. It happens here and there. But I have seen people making an effort and putting the work in. Another ableist assumption that we need to leave behind is not looking disabled enough or not feeling disabled enough. Quite often people have invisible disabilities. They need to use accessible parking. They need to use accessible toilets. They may not look like they've got a disability because it's invisible. Stop questioning it, smile and get on. But yeah, that needs to be left behind. And also, I'm going to share this with you. I'm feeling a little bit nervous going and buying a little bit of ski wear. As you know, I'm going to be going skiing in a few weeks, and there are a few little bits and bobs that I need to get at ski wear places. And I want to go and talk to people and be like, oh yeah, I'm going skiing in a few weeks. Can you advise me on what I need? And I'm just a bit, I don't know if I'm just building it up to be something that it's not, but I'm feeling a little apprehensive about it and worried about like I'm going to get like strange looks, because maybe you don't typically think of people skiing that look like this. Maybe not. Maybe I should report back and let you know how I get on. The next one is slacktivism. Slacktivism, when people are seen to be being activists or trying to do something to help the disability community, but just sort of missing the mark. And a great example of this is Primark. Last year, they launched their adaptive underwear campaign, and I covered this quite a lot. I've got a couple of videos here about it. Basically, they launched an adaptive, affordable underwear range. Great. Let's go down to Brighton Primark, buy a few and review them. Went there, it wasn't there. Okay, that's fine, we'll order it online. I couldn't even order it online. If I wanted to click and collect, it was miles away. And that's not accessible. So they've created an accessible product, but it's not accessible to buy, and they clearly missed the mark. Now, I think the way that businesses can really turn this around is by hiring disabled people, listening to disabled people, and doing your research. And I think this leads me nicely onto my next one, which, do you know how many times I've tried to talk about this? Quite a lot of videos I put this one in, and I always chicken out talking about it. But I'm going to put my big girl pants on and today I'm going to talk about it because I had this in my list for last year. But not paying disabled people for their work. Oh my goodness. Quite often expected to work for free because it's seen as a more charitable thing. Whereas people in other niches may not be expected to work for free. Does that make sense? And I really think that that should be left behind. I mean, you wouldn't invite your electrician in and say, oh, I'm really sorry, I can't pay you, but I tell you what, I'll give you a cup of tea. The world doesn't work that way, and we disabled people add a lot of value, we give a lot of information, and it's very niche. And I really feel that we should be paid for and recognised for our efforts. And this doesn't just stand with the content creating industry. This stands with a lot of people. Let me know if you have had any experiences like this. People just assume that because you're disabled, you don't want to earn the money. Maybe they think gaining disability benefits is super, super easy and we're taken care of, which is a huge, huge misconception that needs to be left behind. But that's a story for another day. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the disability ins for 2025, what I want to see more of in 2025. And the first one is I want to see a lot more disability representation. I feel like last year was great and it made huge headwaves. We saw Melissa Bodie in Wicked, who was the first actual wheelchair user to be cast as Nessa in the movie. And oh my goodness, I loved it. I loved Wicked so much more than I thought I was going to. And knowing that she was an authentically disabled person made me feel so much more comfortable watching it, made me enjoy it so much. And it just felt right. Do you know what I mean? And that's where, you know, authentic disability representation really comes into its own. Let's see more jobs and more opportunities for people with disabilities. Let's see more hybrid working with accessibility options. I've heard of some businesses taking away their working from home options, which I think is a terrible mistake. I think 2020 proved that people are responsible, they can work from home, and there is no reason why we can't have more working from home options. Let me know if you have encountered working from home options being taken away from you and what you think about it. This year, I really want to see changes to the PIP, Personal Independence Payment, which used to be Disability Living Allowance for disabled people here in the UK. I want to see a difference in applying for it. At the moment, it is so hard to apply for. Only over 50% of the applicants get approved. The fraud rate on PIP is effectively 0%. The whole system is completely flawed, and I'm not going to go into it because it is such a huge topic. But I really hope to see an easier and fairer system in 2025, because too many people have died waiting for their applications, and this needs to be spoken about more, and it is not accessible and it is not acceptable. And finally, my last one that I think may actually come to fruition because I've had a bit of a tip-off, more adaptive clothing options in high street stores. I want to see them easy and accessible to buy, and I want them at accessible prices and also to be sustainable as well. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to drop your disability ins and outs for 2025. Hope you've enjoyed this video. Don't forget to thumbs up, share it with a friend, subscribe if you haven't already. And if you enjoyed this video, I think you will enjoy this video. Thanks for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in my next one. Bye.